I'm fighting like the 1% that controls the NYPD and makes it corrupt, right? Corrupt as in they're going out and extorting places, right? Yo, this is BS. Like, this is, more worse than a gang, right? Because at least in the gang, you guys are friends and you guys are hanging out, and it's not like they're going to peer pressure you. You're like, oh, you don't want to do it? All right, fine, don't do it, all right? Let somebody else do it, right? But whatever the case is, but that DOA, it's been expired there for days, and it smells terribly. The body's bloated. If they have a cat or whatever, the cat will be eating at it.
Oh my god!
Roaches are coming out of the eyeballs and stuff like that.
Holy crap.
Then the ME comes, you got to sit in the apartment.
Oh my god!
Right? So they'll make you got to be in the apartment, right?
Oh my gosh!
Yeah. So you got to sit in the apartment with the person, and you're like, oh my god, what? You can't even breathe. Some people.
This sounds unreal to me, by the way.
Lucky Boys Podcast.
Welcome to Lucky Boys Podcast. I'm Will.
I'm Norm, and we have a very special guest today, Steve Lee. He's a NYPD sergeant and a candidate for assemblyman in Queens, New York.
What's up, Steve?
What's up?
Steve. Thanks for coming by, man.
Thank you for having me.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Stephen Lee, 42 years old, police officer, 15 years, born and raised in Brooklyn, Flatbush. I moved to Queens about 20 years ago, so I spent half in Brooklyn, half in Queens. Currently running for Assembly District 40, which is Flushing and Whitestone, against Ron Kim.
Yeah, man. You have quite an interesting background. Norm and I were talking prior to having you here, and we're just like, holy cow, this guy's life is like a fucking movie. It's unreal. Like, literally, if I was a filmmaker, I could take pieces of your life, just a section of it, and turn that into a 2-hour film.
Yeah.
Right?
It could be a sequel. It could be like a trilogy.
That said, there's a nickname. Some people may know you for it. That knows about you. It's Agent Serpico.
Yes.
And for those that are listening, it's from Frank Serpico, who he was an Italian police officer who was a whistleblower back in, was it the 70s?
Yes.
And I think in 73, Al Pacino starred as Frank Serpico.
Yep.
And they made a movie out of it, and that was one of his key roles.
Yeah.
The reason why they gave me that nickname was during the investigation, when I was undercover, they said this is like as big as the Knapp Commission, which is what Frank Serpico accomplished. And they're like, this is like the, like Asian Serpico. So it stuck with me from there. I actually speak to Frank Serpico regularly on Twitter DMs. We exchange messages, and he actually contacts me, like sometimes just asking me about, hey, what's up with this guy or what's up with that guy, and I give my opinion, and we talk back and forth. He's a very isolated person upstate. He likes his privacy.
What is he, like 80, mid 80s now? 83, 84?
Yeah.
It's got to be.
Yeah, he's up there.
How did that relationship develop?
How did it develop?
It's like, I saw you in a newspaper. I love what you're doing.
No. So what happened was it developed on Twitter, right? Obviously. And I was tweeting something. Somebody tagged me. I think it was a lamplighter project. They tagged me and promoted my story. And then Frank Serpico, I guess he was just getting into Twitter at the time. And he was working with the Lamplighter Project, and he retweeted it. Oh. So then the Lamplighter Project reached out and said, hey, look, D. Frank Serpico just retweeted your thing.
That must have been surreal for you.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was like, whoa, this guy's still alive? Like, so I was like, wow, that's beautiful. Like, so I said, thank you for retweeting my stuff and whatever. Yeah. And then, at first we didn't exchange, like I try to call him, whatever, or not call him, but I try to tag him. He won't respond or anything. But then as he saw my stuff progress and saw that I'm continuing to fight the system, he started responding, right? Because he doesn't just talk to anybody. because a lot of people tried to get to him to use him as a co-sponsor or like take a picture with him, be like, hey, I'm Frank Serpico. And then he's very careful who he endorses because he doesn't want to endorse the wrong person. He knows about the systematic racism that goes on in the system. He knows about how the system is corrupt and broken. And he's very actively still fighting that.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, he actually still goes to like conferences and stuff like that and does interviews and stuff. And he's still actively fighting it, right? So during my election, what got us like really started talking was during my election, Ron Kim started attacking me and doxing me online. And I showed Frank Serpico that, right? And because people were saying I'm a dirty, corrupt cop, I'm racist, based on only because I'm a cop and I'm running against Ron Kim. So they just
people as in Ron Kim's people,
Ron Kim's
or
people.
just general people.
No, Ron Kim's people.
Okay.
Right. And they didn't present any facts. They just twisted stuff around. And so Frank Serpico tweeted out, when you fight corruption in NYPD like Steven and I had done, you become the target, right? And so forth and so on. We need good people like you in office, Steve Lee, good luck, right? And stuff like that. So it was a big endorsement for me. I was like, wow, that's great, because a lot of politicians were endorsing me and stuff like that. He was spreading.
You were the new kid on the block.
Right. I'm the new kid on the block. He's the 8-year incumbent that went unchallenged. Right. And he was spreading rumors to everybody saying that I'm a dirty, corrupt cop and that he has evidence on me, right? Dirt on me, and not to endorse me because it would dirty them too if they get involved. So a lot of these politicians didn't want to get involved. Right. The only person that did get involved was Donovan Richards, because he believed in me. He saw what I did, and he knows that I did the right thing.
Who's Donovan Richards?
He's now Queensboro president. So he is city council for Rockaways. He's also on the chairman of the public safety board that has a say with NYPD and stuff. And he ran for Queensboro president. At the time, his race and my race were going at the same time. So he co-endorsed me, and I endorsed him. And he won that race, and hopefully he wins again in the general election and becomes Queensboro president. 'Cause he does great work. Like, he's actually out there in the community every day.
Very active.
Yeah, very active, very grounded.
Even now during these times?
Yes.
That's incredible.
Even now, like,
That's incredible.
He still hangs out with the people that he began with, the people that he grew up with in the neighborhood.
That's very important. I mean,
so he's still going to the barbecues and stuff like that. Like, they're still hanging out. It's not like he gets on his high chair and boom, he's gone, But he's still out there. So that's the reason why
grounded,
I like them.
He's humble.
Right.
So you guys immediately hit it off because you guys could see you guys have a lot in common.
Right. So, so that's how me and Frank started talking. And during that time, like, he'll send me a DM, and I was surprised. I was like, whoa, he's sending me a DM.
Man, Frank Serpico DMing you.
Right.
Oh, dude.
Right, because I was like, can you come down, or can we take pictures, or can we interview you, as an endorsement type of thing? So he didn't really answer to that, right? So then one time, I think his cell phone was running out of minutes or whatever, because he has a prepaid, right? And he was like, just email me, because I don't really check my Twitter. My thing is down. I'm not in a rush to go out and get another card. So, email me. So he gave me his email, and then, I sent him the dirt on what I had on Ron Kim with facts, actual proof.
Right. You're not just spreading false allegations.
Right.
You actually did your homework.
Right. So we sent that to him, and then, he looked it over, and that's when he realized, you're really fighting a corrupt guy. I'm going to help you.
Frank Serpico said that. Wow.
Yeah. So it's like, we exchange DMs, and, we just message back casually. Is sometimes I'm walking with my wife in the middle, like, he goes to sleep like around 10 o'clock p.m. So sometimes I'm walking with my wife like around 9 or whatever. He'll be like, hey, what's up, blah blah, what do you think about this guy? And I'm like, oh, I don't really know that guy, but from what I heard is this, that, and third, so on and so on. So he's like,
I know it's hard to convey tone through text messages and electronic messages, but did you get a sense of like what he is, what he's about, certain things that makes him feel certain type of way?
yes, a little bit, right? I have a faint idea of what he's like because I experienced. I kind of relate to him when I was undercover. Paranoia, but not in a negative way.
Careful,
Very careful, very on point.
so he's still very sharp at his age.
Yes, very careful, very on point.
That's a lot what I'm
Just-
kind of getting.
Yeah, so it's like, even for me, when another cop comes up to me, but hey, how you doing? Blah, like a person I don't know, I'll be like, who are you? You know, like, what do you want? What's your
Yeah.
angle?
Yeah.
Right? Or when random people add me online, same thing. Who do we know? That friends in common. Who are you?
The street smart kicks in.
Right. So sometimes I'll call my friends up like, yo, what's up with this kid? What's up with this person? And they'll be like, oh yeah, he's cool. He's so and so. Okay, cool. I'll add him. All right.
Strange times we live in.
Yeah. So it's sad that he has to live like that, right? Even to this day, like what is it, like 40 years later, 50 years later, right?
Yeah.
He still has to live like that because they're still constantly trying to retaliate against him. He just now got the Medal of Honor for what he did.
Wow.
Just like
So
maybe
then
like yeah,
You know what?
maybe like 2
Let-
weeks ago or something like that.
Let's rewind a bit. Because I know a lot of people are coming in this and they're going, "Wait, what the fuck is all this?" and let's just rewind a little. Let's go to Steve Lee, the undercover cop. Let's start from there. Like, what happened? What did you whistle? Because they're listening to some. They may not be hip to Steve Lee's past or Frank Serpico, right?
Right, yeah.
They're coming in this very very new and fresh to
and
this
people might not
story.
even know who Frank Serpico
They haven't
is,
seen this movie
Yeah.
or yet. So let's start there.
The movie's called Serpico, right? How Frank Serpico feels about how Al Pacino portrayed him in that movie. I think he was upset about the inaccuracy of the movie.
Like he felt that it was Hollywood up.
Yeah. So that's that. So with me, okay, became a police officer in 2005. The reason why I became a police officer is because I had my daughter in 2003, and I was actually getting paid double what I was getting paid as a police officer, right, at that time. And the reason why I became a police officer is because, one, I like helping people, right? I actually get like a high off of it, right? My mom, she's old school. She went to a fortune teller, and she was like,
Hey, my mom did the same
Yeah,
thing.
me too. Mine too.
"Oh, really?"
Yeah.
Could be an Asian thing. I don't know.
Yeah. So she went to the fortune teller, and she was like, "Your life, 你的命是做官的, right? Which means your life is for like an official office type of thing, right? So you should be a cop. Since you like hanging out and helping people, you may as well get paid for it." So I had originally taken the test when I was 21 in 1999, but then I was still hanging out at the time, and I didn't really like the police at the time. I wasn't agreeing with what they do, because they used to harass us when we're playing handball and stuff like that, or we're hanging out in the corner. They used to harass us all the time. So I wasn't down with that, right? But after 9/11, it kind of changed my mind a little bit. After having my daughter, and then as working in insurance, I saw that everything was numbers, and politically driven, right, with numbers.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? They asked, because I was a supervisor of an Asian team, and they wanted me to fire somebody. And I felt bad because this guy was traveling back and forth from Canada, trying to get medicine for his kid and stuff like that. And I fought for him to get, stay on. He brung up his production. They kept them. But then I was like, yo, I could be next, right? And I have a daughter, so I can't afford that, right? So I took the PD test again, and I became a police officer. Why? Because stability, right? And I figured, at that time, I was so naive. I thought NYPD was not politically driven. It follows the law. This is the law, and that's that. Wrong.
Like straight up, like everything was very black and white. Good guys versus bad guys.
Right.
Yeah.
Wrong. Culture shock. I was so culture shocked.
Like, holy shit,
Everything
this is
is
like a game.
It's worse. It's worse than a gang, because in a gang, you guys are just hanging out and protecting the neighborhood or protecting the people back then, right? That's what gangs did. This gang, like you said, right? Production driven, numbers. You're not a person. You're to go out and produce numbers, right?
Like a salesperson, like that's for a company.
So every cop had to bring in 20 summonses and 1 arrest every month.
Holy shit! That's
What happens
new.
what happens when that doesn't happen?
You get fucked with,
Oh,
right?
Like how? Like
So-
they haze you?
Yes, they haze you. They flip your locker, because they don't just mess with you. They mess with your whole squad, so that your squad will mess with you too. Be like, yo, we're getting messed with because you're not pulling your weight. You need to you need to check yourself, right? And so your squad will like, yo, we're standing on these effed up foot posts. We're getting these effed up assignments because of you. You're not bringing in your numbers. Bring in your numbers, you know. And then if you continue not following that behavior, then you get bad evaluations, right? You get messed with, like, oh, you can't have this, your uniform is out of state, whatever, we're gonna give you a command discipline for that, take away vacation days. They start punishing you.
They could do that. Take away vacation days.
That's how they punish you. So they take away time, right? So it's called command discipline. We call it CD, right? So when they give you a CD, it could be a Schedule A, a Schedule B, or a Schedule C now, right? So a Schedule A is for like minor infractions. You lose your ID card, or you lose equipment, stuff like that. If you lose your shield, or you lose a parking plaque or something like that, or you do something more serious, you could lose up to 2 to 10 days. A Schedule C now is like even worse now, right? So they have these tools to punish you. And then if you try to take a day off, if you need a day off, they're going to be like, no. And then on your days off, since you don't like producing, they're going to give you overtime, order overtime, and you have to be out in the street, and you have no days off now, right?
That's physically exhausting.
Yes. So
Holy
that's
cow.
that's how they keep messing with you. So, and then on top of that, they're going to, like, let's say they'll get me to get an arrest, all right? Like somebody else in your squad to get an arrest, and then they'll dump that arrest on you. They'll find the worst kind of arrest for you to do, right? It'll be like a homeless man that smells and stuff like that, or something really, really bad. And then they'll just assign it to you and be like, all right, now you stay with him 24/7. So now you're sitting next to a smelly homeless guy. You got to touch him. You got to search him. And then you got to take him all the way down to Central Booking and sit. And then he's going to be, most likely he probably has mental problems or something like that, right? And so now you have to take him to the psych ward. You have to sit with him at the psych ward until they release him, which is usually like 2 days, right? So you have to sit with him at the psych ward until he's released, and then you take him back to the precinct, and then you have to fingerprint him, and then you have to. It's exhausting. They punish you like that. Or let's say there's a DOA, which is like a dead body, right? Person that's deceased, sitting in an apartment. Let's say something like this, right? The person lives alone, so nobody's gonna know until maybe a week later, a couple days later. Well, in summer, a couple days later, and the neighbors will call for foul odor. People will go there and realize, okay, it's a dead body. Oh, you know what? Assign it to Lee.
Did that happen to you?
Yeah, it happens to me.
So you got.
I even got punished because
you got punished
of
with the homelessness and the homeless person to the
Yes.
psych ward.
These
And
are
you
real
also
stories.
got
I got punished for a couple of things.
So these are firsthand stories.
Yes.
Holy
And I even
cow.
got punished for his brother-in-law because he was my partner at the time, right? And he was always like, did the right thing. He didn't follow the quota system and stuff like that. He always did the right thing. It's like whenever he saw a crime, that's when he would take action. But if he doesn't see anything, he's not going to go and look for something and make up something just for the sake of activity, right? So, they would punish me too because they're like, oh, you need to get him in line. I'm like, he's his own person. Why are you punishing me? Like, that has nothing to do with me. We're just partners. We work together, like. So, after that, I'm like, yo, this is BS. Like, this is, more worse than a gang, right? Because at least in the gang, you guys are friends and you guys are hanging out, and it's not like they're gonna peer pressure you. You're like, oh, you don't want to do it? All right, fine, don't do it. All right, let somebody else do it. Right. But whatever the case is, but that DOA, it's been expired there for days, and it smells terribly. The body's bloated. If they have a cat or whatever, the cat will be eating at it.
Oh my
Roaches
gosh.
are coming out of the eyeballs and stuff like that.
Holy crap.
Then the ME comes, you gotta sit in the apartment.
Oh my god.
All right. So they'll make you gotta be in the apartment. Right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So you gotta sit in the apartment with the person, and you're like, oh my god, what? You can't even breathe. Some people.
This sounds unreal to me, by the way.
It's
So true.
It's
I've heard my cop friends tell me these exact same stories.
What?
Yes.
My cop friends does not tell me anything.
They
Man,
shield
they
you,
hold it
man.
out.
They shield you.
They
yeah.
holding you
are.
out,
They're treating me with kid gloves.
Your cop friends are probably part of the machine. So the other half is if you drink the Kool-Aid, right? We call it. If you drink the Kool-Aid and you go along with the system and you're part of their club, you get treated on the other side of the spectrum, which is, hey, you want a day off? Yeah, no problem. We'll get so-and-so to cover, which is somebody like me,
Oh, okay.
Or, they're having like like let's say the guy's a big baseball fan. Oh, can I do the Shea Stadium detail and stuff like that? Yeah, no problem. Take it, or it's like, hey, I want to work this sector because this sector is slower. I don't have to do that much work. Yeah, no problem. Take that sector. It's much more relaxed job for you. It's like you get the benefits. So it's brainwashing you. Like
They give you positive reinforcement,
right,
and negative reinforcement.
yes, and you don't have anybody messing with you. If you make a mistake or you slip up, they're like, oh, this is how you do it, blah blah blah. But somebody like me, they'll be like, oh, you're getting command discipline, blah blah. You find out what you did wrong. Come back to me when you find out what you did wrong, and so forth and so on. And nobody's talking to you because they associate with you. Then they get backlash also. So now you get isolated and f with.
Exile them. You exclude them. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the worst punishment is isolation.
Yes. I learned to find a middle ground because fortunately in the 6-7 precinct where I worked, right, as a police officer, it's a busy precinct, right? And so in a busy precinct, the cops are more tight. It's more like family, right? Because
You got to look out for one another.
right, because there's constant shootings happening in the neighborhood and stuff like that, and it's a rough neighborhood.
I totally get that.
Right,
Mhm.
and you become closer because those are the only people you can really count on to watch your back when you're out there, right?
Yeah.
And to come and show up to be back
Sure.
up.
Those are your brothers.
Right, brothers and sisters.
Yeah, brothers and sisters.
And we all in the back of our head knew the quota system is messed up, right? But you know what? We got to play the game.
No one speaks out against it?
No. Oh,
There are some
If
people
there's
who
so
speak out
many
against
people
it.
that are against it,
There are
isn't
documentaries that
at
are
least
being
one
done.
police
So-
officer that's a Karen that's gonna like go, you know what? No way.
So let me tell you about one major person that spoke out about it, Schoolcraft, Adrian Schoolcraft. He spoke out about it. He did recordings about, at roll call, hey, you guys need to bring in 20 summonses. We want these kind of summonses. Now they're starting getting picky, right? And all this because of the ComStat, right? So, oh, you need to bring in these kind of summonses and these kind of arrests, so forth and so on. So he recorded, he exposed it. What happened was he was out sick, all right? While you're out sick, you have to remain in your home, right, during your work hours. The commanding officer of the precinct came to his house, demanded to go inside his house. He said, no, you need a warrant. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Instead, they broke into his house, dragged him out of his house, and put him in the psych ward.
What the fuck? Why?
Yeah.
Why in a psych ward?
Because they said that he was acting irrational and that he's an EDP. EDP means emotionally disturbed person. That's what we call someone who has mental problems, right? So they psyched him. This person at the psych ward was like, there's nothing wrong with him. Why you bring him here? But they did that to punish him, right? And then show a record that he's crazy and stuff like that to discredit him,
Oh shit!
right? To show a track record because they're gonna be like, okay, this officer, no, he's just disgruntled because he's not a good officer. Look,
Dude,
we
you're
gave him
literally blowing my mind right now.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, this guy's not a good officer because he has CCRBs. He has command disciplines. He's been punished for this. Punished
What's
for
CCRB?
That. Civilian Complaint Review Board. It's a civilian thing, so they
Heard
don't
of
really
it,
use that much, right? But they use the internal system, which is why they don't reveal it. They use the internal system, and it's like, oh, this person was punished for this and punished for this and punished for this before, so he's a problematic person. And look, on top of that, he's been EDP'd, he has a psych history, blah blah blah, so forth and so on, right? And then discredits him towards the media, to the public. That's what they do. They character assassinate you. Another person is Edwin Raymond, recently, from the NYPD 12. Him and 11 other officers, total of 12 officers.
Wow, 12 officers.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Holy crap.
they're all current police officers still on the job. Edward Raymond is now a lieutenant, running for city council also.
While being an active
Right.
police officer.
He's still an active police
You
officer.
could do that?
Yes.
Okay.
Just like me.
Yeah,
I'm
he's
still
an
active also.
police
Okay.
officer.
Oh, you're still active?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he exposed the quota system and the corruption within it also, and how they were punishing him if he didn't come along with the program, like what I was telling you. So if you watch Crime and Punishment, right, it's
a
on
documentary on Hulu.
right, and it's actually free on YouTube right now, right? So you can actually watch it for free.
Crime and Punishment.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's crime and then plus sign punishment, right? And you'll be shocked what's going on, because they actually documented it, like real live. Like they'll wear a mic or they'll wear like a hidden video, and they got footage in the documentary. So it's not like they're making the stuff up, right? So this is the culture of it. Okay, so back to me. So in 2013, I got promoted to sergeant, right? Because I kept on getting like bad supervisors that kept on trying to push the quota system thing on me, and I was like, you know what, I need to get promoted. And
I'm sorry. That's quota thing. Is that based on who your supervisor is? Like, does each one kind of manage it differently?
No, everybody has it.
Everyone has it.
Everyone has it.
So there's that same
it's
pressure across the board?
everywhere in NYPD.
Wow.
So it's it's different though for different precincts, right? For busy precincts, it used to be 20 and 1, 20 summonses, 1 arrest, and they all can't be parkers
per month.
Yeah, per month, and they all can't be parkers. It has to be like moving violations, stuff like that, or criminal summonses and stuff like that.
That's why I got 4 tickets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially towards the end of the month.
Yeah. Towards the end of the month, I got killed.
Yeah, end of the month or the beginning of the month. Yeah. So some people like to get rid of the activity beginning of the month, so they don't have to worry about it towards the end. Some people wait till it's like they don't really want to do it, and then at the end of the month they get pressured to do it, and then end of the month they do it. Right?
So they gotta hustle.
Right. So other precincts, like slower precincts, they'll do 20 summonses, but they'll do 1 arrest every quarter.
Okay.
All right. But there's still a quota system out there, especially during like the 250 thing, when Giuliani was pushing the 250 thing, or Bloomberg was pushing the 250's stop, question, frisk.
The stop and frisk.
Yeah. So Bloomberg was pushing that hard.
Well, that started with Giuliani, right?
Giuliani and Bloomberg, but they were pushing it hard, where it was like you need to bring in a certain amount of stop, question, frisk, 250s, right? And it's like, we're not searching anybody. Like, if I'm not finding anybody to search, what do you want me to do? And it's like, oh, you could find somebody on the sidewalk, or whoever you stop, just search them or pat them down.
Shit, that's
So
fucking
that's
crazy.
why it started beginning.
It became more of like a targeting,
Right. So it's like somebody that's
individuals on the
walking down the street is like, all right, let's just stop this person, and
without any
right.
due cause or whatever.
Exactly. Or these kids are hanging out here. Oh, you know what? They're not supposed to be hanging out here technically. They're blocking the sidewalk. Let's go and search them, right? And just get the 250s out of the way or stuff like that. So Edward Raymond exposes that also, how it targets minority neighborhoods, because in minority neighborhoods, the shootings are up, or the crime rate is up, but they use the 250 as an excuse at CompStat when they ask, hey, what are you doing about this rising crime rate? And they'll say, oh, we're issuing more summonses by the broken windows law, right? Mm-hmm. The broken windows rule, which is like stop smaller crimes, so it will stop the bigger crimes.
The bigger crimes, yeah.
But the way they're doing it is not the correct way. What they're doing is they pressure the cops to just stop average Joe citizens. No, you have to stop the people that are actually doing
In
crime.
the lower income neighborhoods.
Right, in the lower income neighborhoods. So it's mostly like black and brown neighborhoods, right? And they would stop them. We have increase of stop, question, frisk. We've been searching people, and they'll say, we've been searching gang members or whatever for guns when we see them in the street, or known perpetrators when we see them in the street, or we're giving out more summonses for bikes on sidewalk, because they claim that these people riding bikes on sidewalks are carrying guns on them, and they're riding around being lookouts or whatever, right? Which is not true. Some people just riding the bike on the sidewalk,
Right.
right? Because they don't want to get hit by a car, because in these minority neighborhoods, the roads are not fixed.
There's no bike lane.
Right, there's no bike lane.
Yeah,
so
there's
they
a lot
ride
of
their bike on the
potholes.
sidewalk.
Yeah,
right.
I'm well aware of that.
Yeah, so they ride their bike on the sidewalk. So they use that. We were once told that a bike on a sidewalk summons is more valuable than a gun arrest. And we're
Why?
like, because at that time that was the flavor, right? The hot topic.
It's the flavor of the month.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's like we were all like, wait a second, you're telling us riding a bike on a sidewalk summons is worth more than a gun arrest? Like, I'd rather get a gun off the street than
So
stop somebody.
what happened to Officer Raymond? Like right now with him putting this at the forefront, is there any action being? Is this gaining momentum?
So Edwin Raymond is gaining momentum, especially now that he's running for city council, and hopefully it'll change that, right? So now that's the quota system. He's fighting the quota system corruption. I'm fighting the I don't want to say corruption, but like this a different part of the system. Right, because that's just one part of the system. That's the number crunching part of the system, the one that brings money and income into the system.
It's the revenue, right?
I'm fighting like the 1% that controls the NYPD and makes it corrupt, right? Corrupt as in they're going out and extorting places, right? So, all right, so let me give you the story of my story. Let me get back to my story. I'm going off track. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
So good.
2013 got promoted, and I wanted to work in a neighborhood that I like, my own community where I could help, right? And I got transferred to 109 precinct, which is Flushing. I was happy. It was a good commute. My dream precinct, because I get to help my people, and it's where I shop, whatever, and stuff like that. And I have friends in the neighborhood, and it feels good helping somebody that was helping somebody that you could relate to, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like looking out for family or something.
Yeah, you know
right?
the story there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
You can empathize. You have a strong empathy.
right, especially when you see a lot of police officers ignore them and disregard them because of communication barriers, or they don't understand our culture and they don't respect us, or so forth and so on. So I felt like I was making a big difference. So I became the conditions crime sergeant, which meant we did plainclothes. Sometimes we'll go out. We dress the conditions of the precinct like rims and tire jobs. Like people come over from the Bronx because the Whitestone Bridge is right there. People will come over from the bridge and steal rims and tires and stuff like that, or motorcycles.
Oh yeah.
Or a burglary condition, whatever condition it is in the precinct, we target that condition to try to address it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, more like targeting policing, which is like, okay, this area has a high spike of robberies, right? Or downtown Flushing has a high spike of strong arm robberies, where kids are misguided kids are robbing Asian folks who are going to the ATM and coming out, because a lot of them were business owners and they went to the bank to pay in cash. Right.
Carrying a lot of cash.
Right, like 30 grand in cash. Right. And as they're coming out of the bank, they'll target them and steal their purse or whatever, and so forth and so on. So we address certain conditions. One day I was driving my lieutenant, Lieutenant Robert Sung. He's Korean. He's been at that precinct for years. One day I'm driving him to the pizza shop, and he goes, hey, we got to get rid of this commanding officer. So I have to give you a reason why he would say something like that.
That sounds crazy to me already. Like,
Yeah.
that's like,
The commanding officer of the precinct
Yeah.
that you guys are working
Right.
at. Okay.
So I have to give you a little backstory why he would say that, right? So this is the backstory of the 109 precinct.
that's a mob shit right there.
Yeah, this is not the first time that officers were arrested from 109 precinct for taking briberies and stuff like that for corruption. All right. When I asked to go there, the person that helped me get there actually warned me, Steve, don't come here. I don't want you to get mixed up in anything. If you do come here, you have to be very careful which cop you associate with, and which where you associate, and who you talk to, whatever. Also, it's a very hot precinct right now. I think the feds have a case,
Holy
whatever,
shit.
right? So when I first went there, they're like, oh, watch out for over here, Casino, Main Street, the library. That camera, FBI is tapped into, whatever, and so forth and so on. They're watching the precinct because when I went there, like recently around that time, or a couple of years before I got there, right? There was 2 police officers. One is I think Polish, and the other one was Korean. They got arrested for shaking down a massage parlor. I don't know if you guys heard of that, right?
No.
So from what I heard was they used to go around robbing gambling houses, right?
The police officers?
Yes. In
What?
uniform.
What?
Yes. So there'll be like
Weren't they concerned about cameras?
no, because it's illegal gambling houses, right?
Oh, illegal. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they can't report it. Like a poker, like let's say poker night.
Yeah.
I actually we might actually have a mutual friend. I don't want to mention him on camera,
Okay.
right?
We
But
probably do.
Yeah, we have a mutual friend that could vouch for that because he was there.
Wow.
He's the one that told me the story, right?
Wow.
So he said they would come in and in uniform, act like they're coming to respond to a job, tell everybody to empty out their pockets, right? Everybody empty out their pockets, pull the cash on the table, right? Take all the cash and just leave.
No arrest. They basically
No
just robbed
arrest.
Who
everybody.
they're gonna call, the cops?
Yeah, no.
Yeah. No arrest, no nothing.
Yeah.
And this was like a regular thing to them, right? So people were like pissed off. Like the underground people were pissed off at them already, right?
Yeah.
And then, that kind of stuff was happening. So the reason why they went to this massage parlor, was because they heard that they had $1 million in cash in that massage parlor. It was like something else going on, something shady going on there. And they wanted to rob the place, right? So they went to that massage parlor and they're like, where's the money? And they're like, oh, we don't have no money here. They searched the place, everything. They couldn't find the money. They said, we're going to come back and that money better be here, right? They couldn't find the money because the same person told me the story. The money was hidden in the ceiling panel.
The ceiling panels.
Yeah, so they couldn't find the money. So these people now, they call internal affairs.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, this is what happened, blah, blah, blah. Internal
The gambling parlors and the
Yes.
massage place call internal affairs?
Right. So when they call,
A strong arm move. Right
yeah,
there.
when they call internal affairs, but they didn't tell them about the,
I think they asked for too much.
yeah, they
this
didn't
time.
talk, they didn't talk about the money that was in the ceiling panel.
Of course not.
They were just like, we're a legit business.
Oh,
you
got
know,
you.
course,
Okay.
of
They're
course.
coming in trying to extort money from us,
Mhm.
whatever. So they call internal affairs. They like tell them to come back and tell them that you have $10,000 for them or whatever, right? And then they came back and they arrested them, right?
Oh,
The cops,
So they
the
fell for
cops.
the bait. The
Oh,
cops
yeah.
fell for the bait.
Right. They arrested the 2 cops.
Yeah.
Now those 2 cops, they were part of a conditions team, which is what I was the supervisor of after them, right? So they were part of a conditions team. That old conditions team, that detective that I arrested, I'll tell you guys about later,
Mm-hmm.
was part of that team. The sergeant was so dirty that he actually had partnership in New World Mall, which is on Roosevelt.
New World Mall,
Yeah.
with all the food
Right.
and restaurants
Right.
and
So when that happened,
shopping,
when that happened, he transferred out because he didn't want to, be in the heat. So he transferred out to like Fleet Services
to lay low.
to lay low, right? And sold his shares in all the businesses because he didn't want to get traced back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he left. But some of the people were still there, like that detective was still there. So the detective originally was the one that introduced that sergeant into the thing, and the sergeant had eventually kicked him off. It's like, I'm the sergeant, I'm controlling, this is my operation now, right? It's my money, right? And then when that sergeant left, he was happy, and then he started moving back in, the detective, right? Controlling the area. Now what happened is the lieutenants, the way that the precinct was structured, the lieutenants ran the precinct. Not the commanding officers, the lieutenants ran the precincts. If you weren't getting along with the lieutenant, you would get the crappy assignments, like I said before, the dead body or, the bad prisoner, so forth and so on. You can't get vacation days off, so on and so on. So the cops were miserable. So the cops union, the PBA, actually brung in this new commanding officer to bring up the morale.
Okay.
They hear that he's a good guy. He used to work upstairs in the squad, in detective squad, as a lieutenant also. But now he comes back as a captain. And, he wants to clean house and bring morale back to the cops, right? So they brought him in. The lieutenants tried to get their union to bring in their own guy.
Right.
But the cops union is bigger, is stronger, and brought this guy in. So Conforti came in, and that's why the lieutenant was like, we need to get rid of this guy. Because Conforti knew that something shady was going on, right? But he didn't have any evidence, whatever. But he hears it from the cops. Because, sometimes we're doing enforcement, and then Lieutenant Sung or Detective Yam or another sergeant, which is Sergeant Bang, right? And other cops, whatever. They'll sometimes call and be like, hey, what you doing? Leave that place alone. Okay, do me a favor, let this guy go, so forth and so on. And cops were like, yo, let me do my job. If I caught drugs here, I'm arresting the person. Let me do my job. Right. So sometimes
they were connected to some businesses, and then when they were doing the right thing, arresting the bad guy, then hey, that's my buddy over there, and then they make a phone call, and then you're saying it was like a catch and release.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Man, that's like a movie, man.
No, it is.
Like a Batman movie, like Gotham City, and you see some of the corruption.
It's worse though. It's like, have you ever seen?
It's worse.
Yeah,
Oh
it's
worse than Batman Gotham City. I don't know about that.
no, it's like if you ever seen The Corruptor with Chung Yun Fat.
Yes, and Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah. So it's kind of like The Corruptor mixed with Internal Affairs with Andy Lau.
Wow.
Kind of like that.
Wow.
All right. So check this out. He goes, hey, we need to get rid of this guy, right? And I go, oh, why don't you make a phone call, right? Call your hook or whatever.
Get rid of the commanding officer.
Right.
Okay.
So I was like, hey, why don't you make a phone call, whatever, right? And he's like, no, that won't work. He's well liked up top too, right? I mean, upper brass.
Upper brass, yeah.
Right. He's well liked up top too. That won't work. I was like, okay, what do so what are you talking about then? He's like, yo, Steve, man, we need to get like one of these girls in the karaoke's to say that he raped her or something.
Like create a false allegation?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
So the reason why he said the karaoke's was because we used to do checks there, right? Like, is everything going on? Is there a fight going on? Or you have your license and stuff like that, liquor license, everything going around, everything good. I didn't know at the time he controlled some of them places. So it was highly doable for him, right?
Your partner?
No, the lieutenant.
Oh, the lieutenant.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would never have a partner like that.
Oh, I was about to say,
No way,
dude.
bro. No way. So the lieutenant was like, hey, try to find somebody, right? I'm like, okay, sure. So I thought he was playing around. He was maybe venting. He was mad, right? Sometimes people say wild things when they're mad or whatever,
true.
right? So I waited a week. Throughout the whole week, kept on bringing it up. Hey, Steve, did you find a girl yet? Hey, Steve, you found a girl yet? And I was like, no. I'm looking though.
So you thought it was going to pass over, and
right.
he just kept
But
pressing.
he kept on bringing it up. So I was like, damn, this dude is serious, right? At that time, I was dating the Japanese female. She was a stripper, and sometimes she would work in those places, right? And I talked it over with her, and she was like, you gotta definitely tell him, give him the heads up, give the commanding officer a heads up. And I was like, you're right, because I have a guilty conscience. It was bothering the crap out of me. This guy is a family man. He comes in with his wife and kids all the time to the precinct. And, he's a great guy, gentleman. Right?
He's a good, decent human being.
Right.
So why did the lieutenant want to remove so they could do more?
Because he was messing with their money because he was on to them, I think. Right?
So they could
Yeah.
have
Right,
okay.
because he was restricting their power. Like he was
putting a ceiling with how much they could earn.
Well, he was losing his. They were losing his power because now the cops have the power, right? And him, the commanding officer, because now it's like he's hands on. Like, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do this.
Right.
Before they had free reign,
Yeah.
Right.
So they need to bring their own guy in, get rid of this guy, and bring their own guy in, right? So on top of that, they hated him. All the lieutenants hated him. A lot of them transferred out.
So he was really tough on everyone.
Right. The only people that stayed were people who had interests to protect there. Right.
Okay.
That's why they stayed.
You mean the good cops?
No, the bad lieutenants.
Okay.
Right. No, the cops weren't bothered at all.
Okay.
The cops were happy. The cops morale was up. The cops was like, finally we could do our job without the lieutenants messing with us and stuff like that. We could, actually do police work. Right.
Okay.
So whatever the case is, one day I knocked on his door. I go, hey,
The lieutenant or the commander?
the captain, the commander.
The captain, commander. Okay.
So I knock on his door. I go, hey, boss, you got a minute? He's like, yeah, sure. What's up? I go, look, something I got to tell you, but I don't want to get involved, right? Because I know at that time, if you go undercover or work with IAB, you get transferred out after that.
And you didn't want that.
No. And I'm like, listen, you have a hook. He has a hook. I don't have any hooks. This is my dream precinct. I love living here. I love working. I love working here. I'm helping my community. This was something I always wanted to do, right? And
It's your dream job,
right? So he's like, yeah, no problem. Don't worry about it. What's up? And I was like, look, somebody's trying to jam you up, which means somebody's trying to get you in trouble.
Yeah.
Right? And he's like, oh, what is it? So I could, protect myself. I'm like, somebody's trying to put fake rape charges on you. He's like, oh, okay. I think I might have an idea who it is. Like, if
he's not even surprised.
yeah, like
Holy
he was
shit.
like, if I mention his name, just give me a wink or something, right? And he's like, Sung, right? And I'm like, yeah. Well, he said Bobby, right? He said Robert.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah. So I'm like, okay, He's like, all right, thanks. I'll keep in mind. Thank you for the heads up. Whatever.
That's like super
Right.
casual.
Yeah.
That's not how I would have handled
I
it.
mean, he probably he didn't know, so the commanding officer was probably like very cautious too to
Right.
if
Right.
you didn't-
But the thing
you
is
were
that
working with-
he expected it anyway.
right.
Right. So I walked out of his office. A week later, he calls me back into his office and he goes, hey, Steve, I had to drop a log with internal affairs to protect myself. Right. And a log means like a report.
Right, right.
And internal affairs wants to know if you could get it on recording.
You.
Yes.
Put you on record.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, do I have a choice? Because I told you I don't want to get involved.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, no, you don't really tell internal affairs no. Right. And I'm like, okay, so I guess you're not asking me, you're telling me, right?
Yeah, so there goes your dream job.
Yeah, so I'm being voluntold. So I was like, so what would happen though? Like, what's going on? He's like, oh, don't worry about it. Nobody would know. You're just gonna get the rape charge on recording, and then whatever. Don't worry about it. Nobody would know. You're gonna stay here. I promise you that. Whatever. Okay, cool. Internal affairs will come to your house and they'll interview you and ask you what happened and so forth and so on. So they came, they interviewed me like maybe 3 times. All right, fine. They gave me devices. For a month, I'm trying to get it on recording. The first time I go in and be like, hey, what's up, Lou? How you doing? Yo, I think I found that thing that you want me to do. Like, I think I found someone. He's like, what are you talking about?
Oh, shit.
Because all the time it was him bringing it up to me.
You must have been like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it was never me bringing it up to him.
So he found it suspicious that you said something. Oh wow.
So he was like, wow, what do you mean? What are you talking about? And I'm like, finding a girl. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah. Did you find somebody? And I'm like, yeah. He was like, oh, okay. And then
So he kept it vague.
right. So then I'm like, all right, whatever. So they were like, oh, you know what? Go out and drink with him, right? And maybe he'll get drunk and
He'll loosen up a little
right,
bit.
he'll loosen up and he'll mention it, right? And I'm like, so you want me to go hang out with this guy? Yeah, I mean, like,
But did you do that normally? It kind of looks suspicious. if
I
you
hung
did-
out at karaoke with my friends,
right, but not
but
your-
not
the lieutenant.
No, not with him regularly, right? So, all right, whatever. We go hang out. We go drink, right? I'm on the cover now, right? So it's like, we go drink. They give me devices, And I noticed that when they're out, bro, they're wild. Like, you think like our friends are wild out there? No, they're wild.
Like you're saying like they go out there, they drink hard, and then they beat people up, or what do you mean?
No, not beat people up. They don't need to beat people up.
Yeah,
because it's like they'll go in, tell the owner come in here. The owner will come in. What's going on? Where's our service? Where's our liquor? Blah 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 blah. And manhandling is like real straight up gangster.
Super.
it's like a mob,
Super,
like
super
No,
gangster.
but even like gangs don't even really act like that.
Yeah, because they have respect.
Yeah.
They know the owner. They're
Yeah.
respectful to the
They
person.
get like that if they get disrespected.
they like they
or,
pull them to the side.
or they have beef.
Or if they have beef. That's
Right.
it. That's
So
it.
it's-
Like if they're going in somebody else's karaoke.
Right.
Like if you get a Manhattan crew going up to like a Flushing crew.
Right.
And it's their spot and they know they're cool.
Right,
Then they'll
right,
go in there and start
right.
shit.
They act like a Joe Pesci in the
Yeah,
mob movies.
exactly. So they would go in and be like, "Yo, where's all the girls? What's going on? Yo, why you treating us like this? Where's the service? You want problems? Whatever, blah blah." So they would get the girls for free, right? And they're not good customers. They're like grabbing them, trying to finger them, take them to the bathroom and rape them and type of stuff.
Wow.
One time I walked in to the room and the lieutenant is dry humping the girl on the speaker like hard, and she just turns around, looks at me like, "Help me," like, you know, and I'm like,
Whoa.
"What the fuck did I just walk into?"
Damn, that's some real bad guy
you know
shit.
what I mean?
Yo.
Like, so they'll do all their business in the bathroom. The owner will go in the bathroom with them, and then he'll come back out, you know, happy or whatever, because they're paying him off. Right? I didn't know at the time. I thought it was just like, yo, these guys are wild. Like, you know, and I told them Turner Field, I was like, yo, these guys are wild. Like, and it's not just them. It's when they go out, it's like the lieutenant, it's the detective, it's a different sergeant, it's, you know, people from Vice, it's people like a captain out there, you know, like,
Oh, shit.
it's wild. And they're hanging out with gangsters. And I'm telling them, yo, they're hanging out with gangsters because I know these people, right? And they're hanging out with gangsters and they're never paying for anything. Everything is free on the house, right? And on top of that, I think they're raping girls in the fucking bathroom and shit. You know what I mean? Like, it's wild.
This
So-
is crazy to me, man.
Yeah,
It's
so-
mind blowing.
You know what they said to me? Oh, don't worry about that. Just try to get the rape charge on tape. And I'm like, wait a second. I just told you it's a whole can of worms. They're doing big illegal shit, and all you care is a rape charge?
Why is that?
Because they knew, I think. They knew what was going on. They just didn't want to expose it because they knew that if they expose it, the network gets exposed, right? And it's like, it's not just him here. It's like Flushing because Flushing has a clique of cops that control Flushing. And then 8th Avenue in Brooklyn have a bunch of cops that control 8th Avenue in Brooklyn. And then 5th Precinct has a bunch of cops that control, 5th Precinct.
So it's all connected within the Chinatowns?
Right. So, but it's not just Chinatowns. It's Italian neighborhoods, same thing. They have Italian cops that control, Italian neighborhoods and stuff. It's a whole network. So it's like they have these all people set up in these places, controlling these areas, getting benefits from them, right?
It's like organized crime. It's like a RICO.
Wait, during all this,
More organized.
like
than
what goes through my
organized
head,
crime.
like, aren't you concerned for your life?
I grew up in
Because
that kind
at
of,
that, especially during that time, snitches get stitches, right? So
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're looking at you like you're a snitch. You're wearing a wire.
no,
and-
but they don't know. They don't know. And I grew up around.
but eventually they will know.
Yeah.
like after the fact, and they're
Right.
not going to be able to arrest everyone.
Right.
So
That's
whoever's
why,
left over may try to get at you.
Right. So that's why I cleared it with my friends in the street. Right. Mm-hmm. I cleared it with certain community leaders. Right. And they're like, we don't like them. We know what they're doing. They're hurting our community. They're poisoning our community.
Yeah, the street people, they don't like
Right.
the rapey stuff. I'll tell
Right.
you that. That's a red flag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on top of that, they believe cops should be cops and gangsters are gangsters. You
Right.
can't be both,
Right.
right? They gave me the green light.
Just the same thing. Like they don't think like if you're a school kid and you try to act gangster,
Right.
Everyone, like you can't be halfway in this
Right.
life.
There is no gray. It's only black and white,
Right.
right?
Right.
And they're like, do what you gotta do. We're okay with it. We'll back you up if you get any backlash from the community. Okay, cool. So I actively told them, hey, look, this is what's going on. This is what's going on. This is what's going on. They kept on saying, just worry about the rape charge. Just worry about the rape charge. And I go, hey, look, it's not just him. It's this cop also, this cop also, this cop also. No. Just worry about Lieutenant's son. Right? Just the lieutenant, just the rape charge. Okay, fine. A couple months go by. One incident, I'm working, and they tell me to do a check at JJY, which is Jimmy Lee's place, on Northern Boulevard and 149th in the basement.
I'm sorry, who told you to do the check? IA, or was it the lieutenant?
Lieutenant. So this is the planning behind it. The captain purposely pressured the lieutenant to do a check there because they knew that we hung out there sometimes, right? So the captain purposely did a check, told him to do a check there, and then the lieutenant gave the heads up to the owner, right? And told the owner, this time we're doing the check. And he told me, Steve, go at this time. Nobody's going to be there. Don't worry about it. Just go there. It's going to be clean that time. So we go there at that time to do the check. I think we were running a little late because we had like an actual real job to do. We got there. There was one room, right? They had one room with customers. I told my cops, hey, go do your checks, right? They do the checks. They go, hey, Sarge, can you come here for a second? Sure. They have like 3 people in handcuffs. I go, oh, what do you got?
Whoa.
Yeah. And I'm like, what do you got? And he's like, oh, drugs. So they show me the ketamine, There was a female there that was a dealer and stuff. She had it in like a red envelope, right? And, she had all the drugs in there. And I look at Jimmy, I'm like, yo, didn't the lieutenant talk to you? Because I wanted to get on tape.
Give them a heads up. Yeah.
I was like, didn't the lieutenant talk to you? And didn't Yam talk to you? He's like, yeah. I was like,
what's going on?
Supposed to be clean, right? What happened? And he's like, oh, I don't know them, blah, 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 whatever. He knew, right?
Right.
And he expected us not to check at all. But I'm new to the program, so I don't know this, right? So I call the lieutenant, I call the internal affairs up first, and I go, this is what happened. What do I do? Call the lieutenant, see what he wants you to do. Maybe you can gain favor from him, right? Call the lieutenant up. He doesn't pick up. Then I get a phone call back from Detective Yam, right? And because Jimmy called him. And then he called and he goes, hey, Steve, where you at? And I'm like, oh, I'm at, so-and-so. He's like, what are you doing there? I'm like, oh, the lieutenant told me to do a check. He's like, oh, okay, you got people like in handcuffs or something? And I was like, yeah. He's like, why? Because my cops did a check and they found drugs. What do you mean, why?
Yeah.
All right? He's like, bro, they know better. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, they're supposed to have their blinders on. I'm like, okay. So what do you want me to do? Let him go, because I don't think the lieutenant would like it because that's his place. I'm like, okay. So I call internal affairs back. I tell him what he said. They're like, yeah, let him go. I'm like, listen, these cops are good cops. They're going to let him go because they trust me to protect them, right? And if I ask them to let them go, would they be protected? They go, yeah. We're telling you let them go. We're internal affairs. We're giving you permission to let them go. Don't worry about it. They'll be identified, meaning protected, for letting them go, right? Because we're telling you let them go. This is important later on.
So you're giving the order to let them go now.
So I go and give the order to let them go. I go, hey guys, can you uncuff them, let them go. They're like, what the fuck? Why? I'm like, because I got a phone call. He was like, let me guess, a certain white shirt? And I'm like, yeah.
What's a white shirt?
Lieutenants and above wear like white shirts instead of blue.
Okay.
And I'm like, yeah. He's like, what the fuck? This is bullshit. Why even tell us to do checks then? Why are we even here? Blah, blah, blah. It's a waste of fucking time. I can't believe we can't even do our job. They get pissed off, livid. They storm out. Right. Pissed off.
Every right to
every be. Right. So then I, give Jimmy shit. I'm like, yo, don't let this fucking happen again, blah, blah, blah. Look, you're causing my cops to be pissed off, whatever, and so forth and so on, right? Next day, Detective Yam approaches me at the driveway of the precinct. And he's like, yo, thanks for doing that yesterday, blah, blah, if you ever need anything, this is like a long story short, right? If you ever need anything, let me know. and Jimmy will take care of you. Right? So boom, that's my ticket in. All right.
Yep.
So I'm telling Internal Affairs, look, this is what he said. I got on tape. Boom, I could get paid off by Jimmy. We could get him. We could trap him. Right? We could prove the corruption. Oh no, don't just worry about the rape charge.
What?
Exactly. So I'm like, wait, so this guy's offering to pay me off, get on the payroll. You don't want to take advantage of that? You want me to just still worry about the rape charge? You're not, your internal affairs. You know what I mean? Like,
They're not trying to connect the dots here.
no,
Yeah.
at all. Right?
Don't they usually try to go for the whale? They're not trying to go for like a little.
No, that tells
not
me
at all.
something like is IA corrupt?
Yes.
Oh shit.
Yes.
story. Whoa.
So,
Mind blown, bro.
so
you kidding?
no.
What?
So this,
I didn't see
look,
this twist.
I got
Plot twist.
You're destroying the ending.
Oh, I'm
Spoiler,
sorry.
spoiler
I'm sorry.
alert.
Sorry, man.
I'm a detective.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, the ending is, right, internal affairs is nothing but damage control. Smoke and mirrors and PR for the NYPD. Right?
Oh shit.
So like let's say, cops are shooting black and browns or whatever, right? Okay, let's sacrifice Peter Lang. He just shot a black person. Let's sacrifice Peter Lang and hang him and show that we're doing something about it. That's why they sacrificed Peter Lang, right?
Peter Lang, is he the officer that shot
He's the officer.
the guy in the projects?
Right.
Like his gun went off.
So let me explain.
ricocheted and hit
Right.
someone? Yeah.
So let me explain to you what happened. Right. I grew up in Flatbush, so I grew up around black and brown people, and I'm not racist at all. I love all people of color. You know what I mean? Like,
I've seen you out at the marches.
right. So what they did to Peter Lang though was very wrong. Right. So this is what happened. The way NYPD trains you to walk up a staircase, gun out, right?
In the projects.
Anywhere.
But it was specifically this. Just to give people that are listening to this, with Peter Lang, he was doing a patrol going
Right,
up and
in the
down
housing
projects,
projects,
right, and he was
Now-
going up the
now-
staircases,
Right. Also keep in mind that in this particular housing project, the walls were burned to make it dark. The lights were bad lighting. Right. And what happened was, he's a rookie. He had his hand out, right? He has his handgun in his hand.
as he was trained.
Right. And as he's trained to do, he's cutting the pie, right? Meaning
What
like
does that mean?
like cutting the corner to see who's around the corner.
Okay,
Carefully,
okay.
Carefully going up the stairs, right?
Right.
Walking up. He gets started though because like maybe I think a flight up or two flights up, the door slams, right? Because there's no spring or whatever. The door slams, makes a big boom noise.
Right.
So he got startled, slipped backwards on the stairs, fell down, and when you fall down, your hands on reflex clench,
Right. Right.
right? So his hand clenched, and since his finger was on the trigger, it clenched, boom, and it let a round off, right? That round, he didn't even see the person to shoot the person. So it's not like he aimed for somebody or saw somebody and shot them. No. That round went up, ricocheted off the wall, and hit him around the corner, the person.
So he didn't even see anyone.
No.
He just heard something.
He just heard something.
a loud bang.
Right.
So he
And
got startled.
Right.
Pulled while he was falling.
Right.
He accidentally pulled the trigger, ricocheted off the project walls. And project walls, if you guys know, in the staircases, it's like hard cement
Yes.
bricks.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
Center
very
blocks.
conducive. Yeah. Very conducive for a bullet ricocheting
Right.
off of it. It's
So-
not just going to go. It's not like a drywall where it's just going to go straight in.
Even like when we're trained to, when we go into a housing project, don't hug the walls. They tell you don't hug the wall because the bullet will ride the wall.
Very true.
Right?
Got
and
it.
and
Okay.
hit
Very
you.
true. Yeah.
So they always tell us don't hug
Stay
the
away
wall.
from it,
Yeah,
yeah.
stay away from the wall. Like,
Give some space.
yeah,
between
like
you
maybe
and
like
the
a foot space or something, like 6 inches or foot space. That's why you see cops when they go in, they don't or military, when they go into like a setting like that, a hallway, they don't really hug the wall.
Right.
They're
they're
stacked.
way-
They're stacked
They're
behind
more
each other
towards
in the
yeah.
middle, and they move together. They're stacked, right? Stacked up. So whatever the case is, it was an accident. He didn't even see the target, right? It was. You can't even say target because he wasn't aiming for anything. He had no intention to let off the round. Right. It was a natural reflex, right? Whatever. But they took that. If that was a white cop, to be honest with you, if that was a white cop that
Wait, so he shot
protection?
when it ricocheted, it ended up, the bullet ended up penetrating, his bullet ended up penetrating
the person and dying. Just really bad luck.
Right.
Really, really bad luck.
That's real shitty luck.
Yeah.
And that person
Bad
was not a criminal, did not do anything wrong. There was this huge backlash against.
No idea. Like, it shouldn't matter what the history is.
Right.
For you to get hit by a bullet, or killed,
Right.
you shouldn't look at the criminal history because
But
at
a
that
lot of
time-
people do that.
Right, but at that
Especially
time,
this day and age.
right, at that time he's innocently walking down
The stairs from where he lived.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where he lived. He has every right to do that. So that shouldn't be an issue, right? So, but the thing is that he never seen the person. Like, it's just he slipped, got startled, and boom, it ricocheted off the wall and hit him around the corner.
Okay.
Right. So the NYPD took that and goes, here we go. We could throw this guy under the bus.
He became the scapegoat.
Yes.
For all the issues,
Right.
racial
Because at that
tensions
time it was
happening.
black. Yeah. Because at that time was the big Black Lives Matter movement also, and they took Peter Lang and they sacrificed him for that, and they said, look, we are taking action. We're changing our policies. We're doing this, so forth and so on.
And you're saying that's a PR move?
Yes, because Internal Affairs went out there to investigate, right? Because they have to do an investigation. I know the detective that had that case, right? And he told me himself. He went out there with the commissioners and stuff like that. They were all behind him, right? They went out there. They were walking up the staircase themselves to see the situation. And as they're analyzing the staircase and stuff, he said, look, the walls were all burnt, right? The lighting is bad, right? And then they heard a big bang noise also, right? And the ADAs and stuff like that, they're all there, right? And they heard a big bang noise, and then they all went for their gun.
Right.
And everybody like, oh.
Yeah. And if anybody knows, like in the projects, the doors are like very heavy steel.
Right.
They don't have the, it's not a soft close luxury
Right, the
thing.
big-
It's just
the
gonna-
big
and the
red,
wind,
heavy doors.
And there's like a wind tunnel.
Yes.
A lot of the time, so it'll take that door and the momentum and really
Right.
slam it. Yeah.
Right. So they all went for their guns also. And the ADAs all hid behind the cops and stuff like, what the hell's going on and whatever. So it's like they seen it themselves that situations like that will startle somebody and they could see it happening. Why this guy, and they were like, oh, why this guy had his gun out and stuff like that. And going up the staircase, they realized, oh, okay, I could see why he had his gun out because, it's dangerous, right? You don't know what's going on, whatever, and so forth and so on. So, they sacrificed him for that anyway.
So
Even though after the investigation.
what was the, I guess, end result for Peter Lang?
He got fired.
He got fired.
He got fired, and then I think he got did he get convicted? I'm not too sure.
Can you look that up? Mo?
Yeah, sure.
I'm not sure if he got convicted, but he got fired, and now he does, I think, security somewhere or something like that.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and he still gets backlashes and threats and stuff like that too. So it's really sad that once NYPD throws you under the bus like that, like you're getting backlash now.
So, but then what happens to the brotherhood there, though, in a situation like that?
No,
The
brotherhood only exists if you drink the Kool-Aid.
Oh, so you're saying Peter was probably too young or too much
young.
of a rookie?
He was a rookie.
He was like the ideal candidate to just throw under the
Right,
bus.
because he's Asian. One, he knows that they can't do it to a black officer because the black officer associations will come out and speak. Right, they can't do it to a white officer because that's one of their own people. Right, and Peter Lang, they realized that he had no connections. Right, no political connections. No.
He wasn't royalty.
Yeah, he didn't have hooks. He didn't know anybody, and so also at the time, they believed that us Asians, we don't speak out, and they thought they could just do it and get away with it, and nobody would speak out about it. But people came out to rally for it, right, and it still got ignored.
But you know what? It was on the other side looking at it. Yeah, even if Asians do come out and rally for it, it's not a good look on the Asians too. You're like, yo, he shot an innocent person and killed him. He's supposed
that's why
to be punished.
Black Lives Matter anti-protested it, and they did an anti-protest against it, and the Asian community got backlash from it. So that's why
I remember that.
And now you think about it. Now you got the black and Asians fighting each other, dividing the community. Yeah, dividing the minority community and guess who's on the sideline now laughing? The original target.
NYPD.
The NYPD folks, they're just sitting on the side laughing like, yeah, they're fighting amongst each other.
Right, because when you fight, you guys reduce each other's power
Right.
scales.
Divide and conquer.
Divide and conquer.
It becomes a
And then
distraction
while
from the bigger
While
picture.
they're distracted, we get to do our thing here.
Right, exactly. We get to continue doing our thing. Therefore, we call internal affairs smoke and mirrors, right? PR.
So
Also
This is
touching on
perfect.
Peter Lang, he did get convicted of manslaughter, but
Right.
he was sentenced to 5 years probation in community service.
So they didn't really like hurt him.
What are you talking about?
They didn't give him a jail time. You know, because most
It
people,
doesn't matter, though.
I remember at that time, people were saying that's not enough.
Bro, Eric Garner, right?
I'm not arguing that.
Listen,
I'm not saying
listen.
Peter Lang got off scot-free, but what I'm saying is he didn't go to jail.
If you're saying there's a double standard, yeah, definitely there's a double
I'm
standard.
I'm certainly not saying that, but I'm also saying that he didn't get like the worst case scenario. He didn't get, he didn't go to jail. Now, a police officer being in jail, that's extremely dangerous.
They rarely convict a police officer and put him in jail.
That's almost impossible. I
Yeah.
think.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's why people are fighting for that law to change. There's like a blanket law that protects law enforcement.
Really?
Yeah, for you to even like to sue them or stuff like that, it's like a blanket law to protect them from that. So that's why people are trying to change that.
So it's pretty
law.
ironclad to protect a police officer from
Yes.
getting that amount of punishment as a regular civilian would.
Right.
Even if they did do something like on purpose. Like, for example, if that was in a scenario like that, if it wasn't an accidental fall, as you say, if it was just straight up, he was just a psychopath and just ended up, trigger happy trying to shoot someone.
Well, the job will hang him for that, unless he's well connected.
Oh, wow.
Right. So like, there's another situation where I think it was either Kelly's son or Raymond Kelly's son,
the former commissioner.
yeah, or somebody. It was somebody's son. It was some commissioner's son, or the mayor's son. I'm not too sure. Right. He had a case where he had basically rape is the charge, right? And he got off scot-free.
Wasn't it the guy? Wasn't he a news anchor? A morning news anchor?
I'm not too sure.
Yes,
but
he was the anchor, and his father was in the police force.
Right, that-
I remember
that's-
that case
yes.
on Fox because I used to watch
was
him
a
in the
Fox-
mornings
he was a
when I
Fox
used to get
anchor.
ready for work.
Right, but there's another case where the son of a high-ranking officer, it probably didn't even make the news, got sexual harassment charges.
Same family?
No,
Uh-uh.
it's a different situation.
Okay.
Where the officer was accused of sexual harassment and got off scot-free.
Wait, so what happened in that case? That everybody got off scot-free?
Which case, though?
The rape with the
This
commissioner?
news anchor?
Yeah, the news anchor.
Oh, I have to look it up. I'm not.
We got Google over here.
We're getting more sophisticated in this podcast.
So
But I mean, everything you're saying, it really does feel like a movie. And I'm like, if I heard this from someone else, like hearsay, I would say bullshit. Like honestly, I would say,
no.
I would say, you know what? There's no way that can possibly be true. Everything that you just outlined, I would say there's no way because that's not what we're taught
right.
growing up.
That's what I thought also.
Right? A lot of us are led to believe something entirely different. Entirely different. And then when you pull the covers back and you drop a bombshell like this, it makes you go, it's like right now I'm still in disbelief.
Right.
It's crazy to me.
Yeah. So before I went on the cover, before I saw what happened, right? I thought internal affairs was the good square cops. They're squared away. The good cops, they go after you if you do something bad. So that's why you have to be on your P's and Q's and you can't do anything bad. You have to be in check with internal affairs, right?
Right.
No.